Welcome to From the Ashes, the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast all about Ashes of Creation by Intrepid Studios. I'm Aggelos.
And I am Thais.
There we go. Forgive the setup, because we're a little different this week. But one of the things that we really wanted to do is we wanted to set this up from the Pillars of Creation segment as a one-on-one between Thais and myself to talk about Ashes of Creation. And we decided we're going to try right off one studio setup rather than two. This kind of reminds me of our podcasting way back in the day, back when it was just you and I.
Before I had Ezra.
Yes, before Ezra. And we recorded right off one mic for like the first 15 episodes, I think it was. It was a little while. So we're back again for Ashes of Creation. And the idea behind this segment, obviously, is Thais read the news in the Ashen News segment, and we are going to go over the more meta concepts of the news, talk about things of that nature, as well as mailbags, if we get any mail for the show. And, oh dear heaven, there was something else I wanted to say about it. It is what it is. So, I guess first off, Ashes of Creation striking over 300,000 first hour, being completely funded, and I think at this point they just broke 1.5 million and are still going, with still 24 days left on the Kickstarter. That's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive, yes.
I know they're actually one of the fastest funded MMOs in, Kickstarter period, over like 500,000. I know we had an interview with Steven Sharif, creative director over at Intrepid Studios, for the Dungeon Crawlers episode as well, right on May 3rd, and that's one of the things that he mentioned, that it was actually that far along, which is awesome. Now, I know when I first brought Ashes of Creation to you, Thais, you had some concerns for the project. Being like I was, I went to Steven already a few times and was like, all right, Steven, listen. MMOs have burnt me in the past pretty hard. All right, like I am a lover who wants to still love, but I've been cheated on way too many times, and now my heart's broken. And I don't want you to break my heart, Steven. What can you tell me that will make me believe in love again? And I'm pretty much there. Like, all of DCN, Dungeon Crawler Network, is pretty hyped for Ashes of Creation. But now, when I brought the project to you, you had concerns. Let's talk about those concerns.
Well, I'm definitely hyped, and as I said to you before, my hype level equals my fear level when it comes to this game. I'm so excited. Everything new that they are going to try to do, that they are going to do, is all completely new even to the genre. They're trying so many different things. They're really trying to make it so that lots of people can come together and do these amazing new things, and that in itself is so fearful, because in order to make all these wonderful things to work, you need lots of people. And right now there are so many MMOs that are out, so many good MMOs that are out. They may not be out in a few years, maybe other ones will be out, but with so many people spread out among so many different MMOs, is this game going to get the fan base and the player base that it needs to make all these wonderful things happen, to make all these wonderful things do what they're supposed to do? Because if you only have a small player base, they're not going to be nearly as wonderful. That's my biggest concern.
Right. Now, pretty much with everything that has been said so far, with the Kickstarter, though, do you not feel like the MMO genre needs something? Like, that apparently, just from the outpouring of support that the Kickstarter has gotten in just like 5 or 6 days, that there is a hungry audience out there for this type of game.
Oh, there definitely is. There really is. But that being said, is that hype going to stay until the game comes out? Yeah, it's easy right now to be like, oh, this sounds amazing, and we throw money at it. But then something new might come out in that time frame that takes people. Or maybe the generation changes and MMOs aren't the big thing. There's so many things that can happen between now and when it comes out that can take people away. It's wonderful that there's so much support now, and that they're getting the money that they need to create this wonderful game. But will it stay? Will it last? Will the support last? Will the people be there when they're needed to be there?
Right. Well, I mean, with that being said, a lot of the onus is on the developers themselves to, one, make sure that they upkeep their promises to the community that they've done. I honestly believe, like, I've heard some other people talk about that they need to be transparent and listen to feedback. And feedback is something that's important, but I've seen a lot of MMOs be ruined by stupid player feedback. You can accept feedback from your player base without changing your core fundamentals. And the core fundamentals of this game is what made us want to back it in the first place.
It's funny you say that, because I remember hearing something a long time ago that the player base never knows what they want. Ever. They don't know what they actually want. One week they'll say they want this, another week they'll say they want this. So no matter what, you cannot make everybody happy. Mm-hmm. And players never know what they want. So yes, they need to be careful on what they listen to and what they do, because right now, without listening to anybody, they have something amazing going.
Yes, I agree. And it's their vision that they're trying to bring up. And it's actually one of the things that I heard earlier during one of their live streams, because they've been doing live streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at like 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is what we are, which is nice because I'm off work and I generally get home just in time to be able to watch it. But one of my favorite streamers that they've actually put on there, shout out to Doc Got Game, he was fantastic. He was part of the ESO community for a long time, especially in the beginning. He was out there. Insanely awesome personality, cool guy. I really like him. I spoke to him a few times. He actually had a few questions that I really liked, because he's a PvP player mostly. Obviously, Ashes of Creation is going to have PvP, right? Because that is one of the fundamentals of this game, is creating meaningful interactions in PvP. And he asked, the question was, could a PvP player come into this game, Ashes of Creation, and do nothing except for PvP? Like, that's what he wanted for like 5 or 6 hours. And he was, I could see where he was going with this. He wanted to be generous, and by saying 5 or 6 hours, not like 12. But Steven pretty much said, listen, I don't want to say yes, that's all you can do. I'm actually leaning towards no as something that you cannot do. You cannot solely do any one thing in this game and expect to come out ahead, right? So you can't be a PvP player and only PvP and hope that nothing ever comes in, because of the way the game is designed. You're not going to be able to siege cities constantly. You're not going to be able to gank players constantly, because there is the corruption system that is available in the game, that a player kills another player starts receiving corruption, and over time the corruption stacks so high that they become useless, period. And
now, will that happen in PvE zones?
In PvE zones, yes, because there is no such thing as PvP and PvE zones. The way it works is it uses a flagging system, so that you have combatants, okay, which are, anytime you enter a PvP area, such as a caravan, caravans are automatically flagged as PvP. So when you enter it, you're given a choice of, do you want to guard it or attack it or whatever? And if you do, you become a combatant. Combatants can be killed without any penalty accruing. Then there's the non-combatants. So during non-PvP areas, such as caravans, or I don't know if there's going to be a battleground or something like that in those zones that you'll be a PvP flag, but just like walking into any PvP area in, say, World of Warcraft, you're flagged for like PvP. If you enter one of those areas, you become a combatant. If you stay out of those areas in the PvE zones, you are considered a non-combatant. You can still be killed by a player, but that player gain something called corruption. They become a corrupted player at that point.
Can anybody of any level attack anybody?
See, that's something.
Any level?
I believe at this point they're saying they put things in place to prevent the type of griefing that you're looking at. Okay. So I'm assuming if someone kills like a max level character kills a low level, and this is speculation, obviously, but it's good speculation to have, because Steven is still working on details, but they more or less were saying that they have these things in place that would prevent ganking at this level, like spawn camping and things of those natures. And I'm assuming similar to how World of Warcraft did it in the early days. Now they weren't as harsh, obviously, but to prevent player ganking on PvP servers, if they were not of an adequate level, you didn't gain honor, which was one of the main reasons for killing people. Obviously, people in World of Warcraft would kill you.
Not the only reason.
Not the only reason. You control. But with that, you can you gain corruption. So I'm assuming that if you're outright able to kill a low-level player, I believe the corruption stack becomes higher. That might be one option they went. Now, the reason why you want to avoid corruption is not just the negative effect that happens to your character in terms of like actual effectiveness. You can actually lose gear. If you're killed, you can drop gear.
Oh, and if you're killed?
If you are killed as a corrupted player, you can drop or break gear. There are things that you can kill if you want. This is very reminiscent of Ultima Online, where you had these the good players, the karmic players versus the evil players. Like you have a karmic standing within Ashes of Creation, and if you're doing something bad, such as killing a non-combatant, you are losing karmic standing, and therefore once you become an evil character or a corrupted character, negative things can happen to you. You can lose gear. They also have a bounty hunter system in place. This is the fun one. The bounty hunter allows players who want to hunt evil players to go after a corrupted player, and it pings their location on the map periodically so that bounty hunters can find corrupted players. So if you're killing someone as a corrupted player and there's a bounty hunter, they can either through a skill or something like that track you down as a player because it will ping on the map where you are or where you were within the last couple minutes, so you could hunt down these players.
I think I'm going to be a bounty hunter.
Think you're going to be a bounty hunter?
I think that's me, yeah.
The bounty hunter? Yeah.
Yep.
I thought that was a really neat system that you could, as a bounty hunter, go after these corrupted players. You know, like, hey, you're seeing some guy killing lobies, you know, just to troll or whatever. You can become a bounty hunter and track the guy down. And it's not just a matter of you have to be by the guy. You can actually use, again, this is subject to change and speculation, but from what...
That's so me. Protecting the innocent, the innocent and the noobs. That's so me.
It's you?
Yeah,
All
definitely.
Right. I see. All right. So
they use the bounty hunter.
They use the bounty hunter. You have a new job. I like it. So yeah, that was one of the things that with the PvP you could do. Now, obviously, during sieges or any PvP event, like if you're within a city when a siege is going on, you're a combatant. Whether you wanted to be or not, you're a combatant. So if you don't want to fight in a siege, you better get the heck out of Dodge before the actual siege commences. And obviously, when you go into a sieged area, it will say that you're entering a siege area. The siege will commence in X time, right? So you have that warning, if you will, that sieges will continue. So now, what other things were you concerned about? I mean, player. I know you said about player growth. I don't really think that would be too much of a concern because they're doing individual servers, right? So individual server
that actually raises my concerns even more. If it was just one server, everybody, no matter what, would always be together. If they're doing multiple servers, then people are going to be able to pick where they want to go, and nobody's going to be together.
Well, with the major servers, the only issue that this brought to me was, like you said, with player decline. When player decline is happening, if it does happen, how do you merge servers without messing up the node structure? Because different nodes will develop at different stages depending on the players acting.
That's right. I remember that different servers are going to have different types of node development. So no matter what, the servers are going to be needed. But that, to me, just... Right.
Well, yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, that could be a concern. And
I love you dearly, but the hand signals are confusing me.
Lean closer to the mic when you're talking.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're trying to work this out. I have a much louder voice than what Thais does.
I'm trying my best.
And she's trying, but I'm just like, lean closer.
It's like tap in, point in, moving.
Trying to be professional at this, you know.
But yes, having the different servers to me is going to make it even harder to get the player base that this game needs. I really hope that the game gets the players that it does, because if it does, this game is going to blow everything out of the water. Everything. It's going to be the greatest thing that we've seen in a very long time.
Especially in the MMO genre, where there is such a hunger, especially in this post World of Warcraft environment. I liked World of Warcraft. I'm sorry, I really do. I love it. But with the rash of the past decade or so of the AAA studios trying to copy WoW's success with the very heavy theme park, and I like theme parks, don't get me wrong. I actually hate sandboxes because I'm not a creative person, even though I run this podcast, and I keep having to throw this cat off. So anyone who's actually watching the stream before, here she is. She sneezed at me. So if you heard that little peep, that was her sneezing. I apparently squeezed it out of her. Yeah, so theme parks are nice in what they are, but everyone in the AAA studio kept trying to copy World of Warcraft's success. That sadly killed the MMO industry because after, all the investors are like, well, we expect you to have 10 million subscribers, and then it didn't happen. That issued in this era of free-to-play, buy-to-play, crap MMOs that we've been getting. And then the AAA studios...
Not all the ones that have come out were crap. I feel like one game that could have made it was WildStar, but people want easy games, and WildStar was too difficult.
Right, but again, the AAA investors are what really dictated that. Could they have stayed subscription? Maybe. But the investors weren't willing to take that kind of hit. They're like, we hear you make more money with free-to-play. That's what we want. And since there's nothing that separates you from World of Warcraft except your World of Warcraft in space, why would people give up 10 years of their time just for, that's one of the hardest things. Giving up the time that you've put into one game when you're essentially going to the exact same game you had before, just in a different setting. So that kind of killed all AAAs from ever wanting to come into the genre. That left us with a bunch of interesting concepts. Like, none of us can lie. Steven was a very, very big player of ArcAge. That's a lot of this game is almost a lot of inspiration comes from ArcAge. Not all of it, but a lot of it. You can feel it in almost everything there. I thought ArcAge had a lot of interesting concept, but it was plagued with the fact that it was developed by a Korean studio. Korean studios only do free-to-play stuff over there because that's the market that they have. And in order for them to make money with free-to-play, they monetize the crap out of their games. They make their games incredibly grindy to encourage you to buy what's the term now that they use to try to get away from pay to win? It still means pay to win, but they try to mirror it. It's pay for convenience. Oh, you're not paying for more power, you're just paying to get there faster. It's the same thing.
I could see that working, that wording.
It's
I'd fall for it.
It's
which I have. I've played lots of free-to-play games.
Again, that's wording like saying, "Oh, it's not black. It's like taupe or something." I was like, "Is it black? No, it's slightly darker black or something." It's
Archer.
Yeah, I know, Archer reference. But that's essentially what it is. You're saying it's not one thing, but that's how these games were designed. And I mean, obviously, I don't care for the Asian aesthetic. I know you do. But the Asian aesthetic of the which obviously is very, very unfair to men at this point because the men don't get dong sliders, but the females get boob sliders. That doesn't seem fair. That's not equal. I feel like it should be equal, right?
I don't even know what to say to that.
I'm just saying it should be equal.
But no matter if you make it really big, it won't fit in the armor. Okay.
Well, that could be on either slider. So there you go. And
The one slider I did like was butt sliders. That I did like.
butt sliders. I was going to say one thing, Korean art, you wouldn't have to worry about that because they make their armor so skimpy it doesn't fit in anyway. And that was kind of the plague of these Korean MMOs. AAA studios brought them over because they're easy to maintain. They already have all of this development cost put into it over in Korea. We're just paying to have it localized, and then we rake in big bucks through Cash Shop. And that has put a lot of people off of MMOs recently, because that's all we've gotten in the past 3-4 years, is these Korean imports, because no AAA studio wants to touch it. So these indie studios, which is why I'm so interested in Ashen creation, because the concept of ArcAge really, really interested me. But the fact it was Asian, I just kind of checked out right away. This is a Western company making a Western MMO with some good ideas that some of these Korean theme parks, because Sandbox and theme park had in. No, nothing.
Oh no, sorry. I was just thinking about all the free to plays that I've played.
Gotcha, yeah. All right, so the next little bit from the Pillars of Creation that we wanted to talk about was future stretch goals. Some ideas that of what they're going to bring in. Obviously, during our news segment, we announced all the stretch goals that they've hit. They're all the way up to 1.5 million, which is insane for the short amount of time that they've had. But now they have a couple more stretch goals in there. Of course, we have the backer-only stretch goal, which is the number of backers up to 9,500 or 9,500. We get the Kickstarter armor skin that's unique. And then the expanded Underrealm, which I know a lot of people are excited about. Obviously, with these Kickstarter stretch goals, these are things that were probably already planned to be in the game, or we were going to have in the game anyway, like underground areas. We were going to have underground areas whether we hit this or not, but they wanted to expand these out to make them more. So instead of just a large cave complex underground, we might actually get Underrealm nodes. So like you find an ancient dwarven fortress or something like that now then becomes a livable city rather than just hey, look there's an ancient dwarven fortress.
Now, which one was the new race? Because that is the one that I'm hoping they reach.
2.5 million. That is the last stretch goal that they put in.
Because it is a Western game, I'm looking at the armor skin. Because it is a Western game, for me, that's going to be the Western style has the armor that's not me. That is real. That is you. That armor is very much you.
I agree.
Not me. And not that I like skimpy outfits because...
Yeah, you do.
No, I do not. I like the cute outfits.
There's nothing saying you can't be cute. I mean,
I like ones that are cute. I'm not really skimpy because those don't really protect you. But usually I do play the cloth type characters, so they're usually a little more revealing. And the Kickstarter armor skin is heavy plate.
Well, that's not necessarily. That's just the picture that they showed.
You know what? That's a good point.
Because similar to if you look at the weapons, it's just as a weapon skin that will change depending on whatever weapon you're using. I'm sure there'll be one for every weapon skin. I'm assuming the armor will be similar. Like if you're wearing cloth, it'll be a unique cloth armor skin that is just unique to Kickstarter. So when people see you wearing it, it's like you were a backer.
That's just an aesthetic point for me that I enjoy,
right.
Which is why I think a lot of times Korean MMOs appeal to me, because it has the style that I enjoy more. But the gameplay that I enjoy is definitely in this game.
Right.
And I remember us discussing, did you want to discuss it? I'm not sure, about professions?
Yes, we can do that. Yep.
Well, whenever you're done, I just don't want to forget the idea.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk professions at that point. All right. We'll add that to the list of things.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we were. That's neat. I like the Underrealm. Obviously, they added a new backer exclusive Tide Snapper mount, which, because they're going to have underwater, why not have Tide Snapper? The added social progression. This is the thing that I kind of like with this game. The fact that these added social progressions are actually something more akin to horizontal progression. They actually spoke in one of the things about being able to augment skills based on, well, for the one instance they use religion. You can pick a religion and follow a religion, and those religions would provide you with some sort of augment for your character. So you have horizontal progression, but being in one religion will probably lock you out of another. You can't be, a monotheist and then also join the atheist club. You know what I mean? It just doesn't mesh. You're locking yourself out of one or the other. But these added social progression lines between a thieves guild, a scholars academy, traders academy, or traders company are a way of further augmenting and specializing a character build through one of these other socials.
Segregating the community even more.
Why would it segregate the community when there's no factions in this game?
Good point, but you're still splitting them into... If you can only choose one or the other, which... hopefully that's not the case, because I would definitely want to be part of the Scholars Academy and the Thieves Guild. I love the idea of a Thieves Guild very, very much. But if you pick one, and that's where you have to stay, there's no factions, but you are socially obligated to only one path.
Yeah, but the different paths, like, that might just be under social organizations. Like, you can always leave and go to another one. You might lose some progression, but you don't know how these are going to affect one another. You might not be able to join the Thieves Guild if you're part of the Scholars because you're more enlightened, or vice versa. You don't know what these social paths are going to lock out. But if you are obviously one or the other, if you're a known thief, why would a traders company want you? Why would the Scholars Guild want you? You're a criminal.
Which is why I'm saying further segregating people against each other might make it harder to complete some of the core aspects of the game, which is, remember, what I'm most fearful of?
Right. See, for me, when I'm seeing this, because these added social progressions, these are on a character level, not on a server or group level, I'm not as concerned that they're going to negatively affect...
That's a good point.
This, because, again, with no factions, your only social obligation, if you will, if it is even an obligation, is to your, I don't want to say server community, let's say your guild. Because you can only be in one guild.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know, I said the same thing. You can only be in, now it's one guild per character. So if you wanted to play a spy or something, you could have an alt as in another guild because it's not account bound, which is fine. But yeah, when you're in a guild, you're in that guild. And that is where your social obligation are if you're going to backstab them, where, however you're doing this, it's with the faction you make. These added social progression paths are just a way for you to augment your character in a specific way. Such as, let's say you join the Thieves Guild. I don't know. For argument's sake, they give you a new skill or augment a current skill that makes you better at unlocking traps and dungeons. Because traps and dungeons are going to be a thing. So maybe that's what they do. Maybe that's what they augment. Let's say, because they said different classes are going to have different things, like the rogue class or whatever is going to be able to disarm traps. I mean, clearly D&D style disarm traps. Mage might do something else. I don't know. Like, let's say there's a riddle on the wall that if you don't have a mage, you can't get through. Well, maybe the Scholars Guild would offer a warrior character that ability because you're now a scholar. Speculation on how some of this stuff will work.
Speak friend and enter.
Speak friend and enter, yeah. There you go. I'm glad you said that, but I also know you hate Lord of the Rings, so it feels kind of fake coming from you. And while I was excited you said it.
I actually sat here for like the past, couple minute or two trying to think of the word that he said. I was trying to really impress you, but be happy I remembered just that.
It's melon, but anyway, okay.
I tried.
I know you tried. It was a nice try. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking these social paths are. They're going to augment your character in some way because there is going to be a lot of horizontal progression in the game, which is really cool and something that it's not just gear based. And because gear progression in this game will exist to an extent, but because all gear is finite, meaning it can break, you're not going to see the gear grinds you see in so many of the other games. I mean, there might be, obviously with power and stuff, and then crafters, which we'll get to here in a bit, will be able to augment. your current gear.
That makes me sad. That was one of the things about Guild Wars 2 that I didn't enjoy, was that there was no upward gear progression. It was all sideways. That's it. It was different looks. It was different stats on the same piece of gear that you wanted. It was nothing that made you stronger.
Well, there is gear that will make you stronger in this game. And there's actually even what they said, again, figuring out how this is going to work. There's going to be an RNG element that a master crafter can then take to... Think Final Fantasy 14. Remember how you could overmeld, but there was a chance that you could break the materia that was there. They were describing a system of similar design where you could essentially take that sword that you got from a dungeon or whatever and have a master crafter come up and +1 it. And you could keep going. But eventually the RNG makes it so that, well, you're up to +5, +6 is like a 3% chance of succeeding, you know? And we don't know what the cost is. Is it going to be a lost item, lost materials? We don't know. We'll see that during alpha and as these systems get figured out. But that's something that you can do. This cat, I'm telling you.
She loves
Final
so
time,
much.
ladies and gentlemen, that she's going to show up on the stream. Because I know every time she showed up during the interview I had with Steven, people are like, Kitty! She's my kitty from the backer rewards.
Can we give her back?
Should have picked the puppy.
You should have. Yes.
Yeah, no, she's just walking my lap. So yeah, there's going to be gear progression in that case. So like you're going to be able to.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, you're going to be able to kill like a raid mob and get a raid drop, whether or not it's an item or in some cases I think it'll probably be more like an upgrade material or a crafting material that you can then take to a crafter and have them upgrade or make things. So crafting is very much a big part of this game.
We were talking before about inventory space and holding things, and because gear in this game breaks, I wonder if you're going to have to carry, like, how quickly will it break? Are you going to have to carry lots of gear with you? Like, do you have to try and...
Are you traumatized from Breath of the Wild?
But, oh my god, yes, actually I am. That is devastating. I got this really awesome rare weapon, and I won't even use it because I'm terrified of it breaking. So that, to me, will probably follow me into this MMO, that I'm going to get something wonderful, but then I'm going to have to think about whether do I really want to use it and it eventually break, or do I just kind of hoard it in my sack and it never sees the light of day?
I don't think it's going to break. Like, again, all this is subject to change, but I mean, obviously, it's not going to break similar to how Breath of the Wild is. It's very quick. It's a single-player game. It's different. It'll break similar to how when weapons degrade in World of Warcraft, you can repair them. But when they finally, like, every time you repair it, it reminds me of Dark Age of Camelot, where you would repair it, so you'd have two stats. You'd have condition, which was, like the repair of items in World of Warcraft, and then you had durability. When a condition got too low, you couldn't use it, just like a broken weapon in WoW. Or in any game, really. But then every time you repaired it, the durability goes down. When the durability hits 0, it can't be repaired anymore, and once it breaks, it's gone. They're talking about being able to take that item, especially if it was a really good item of some kind, and then taking it to a crafter and say, I want this brought back. How do I do it? And you could provide those whatever materials it may be. It may be almost more advantageous just to make a new sword. Who knows? But the idea is a crafter should be able to repair these epic items that you got if that's something that you really wanted to do. Finally, the new Underrealm race. I think we might be running out of time a little bit to hit the crafting. We might have to do that next episode, which is fine. But we wanted to hit the new Underrealm race, the new player race, Underrealm, that has beast-like attributes, additional lore, and story. And I talked a little bit to you about this before, how this world has been without civilization for millennia. Time immemorial, our ancestors left this world through divine gateways and just went somewhere else. All right. Now, for whatever reason, we are returning to this world. I said final time, and there she is.
She made you a liar.
She did. Make a liar out of me, why don't you?
Oh, that cat.
I'm just going to let her sit there because she's not going to cause issues. As long as she can be close to me. this race, from what we've gleaned from the lore that Steven has been so jealously guarding, and I've been bugging him for lore forever, so jealously guarding, that the theory here is that whatever this race was, remained on this plane, this planet. We don't know where we went. I don't know if it's a different plane of existence, a different planet, different we don't know. We just know that we left this world and went to another. This realm, or this race got left behind, is the current theory. So
that makes everybody else huge jerks.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are coming back, and with the underground realms, these guys are coming out, because whatever it was that made us leave, this race hid in the shadows, in the underrealm, to avoid whatever it was. We don't know, but here it is. So there we go. The underrealm race at 2.5 million.
I hope that we hit that, because I am extremely excited. Just from speculating from the picture, they look like some type of cross monkey race. Oh my gosh, I would love for them to be Skrit. That is, yeah, because they kind of look like they have the long face. That's it. They're little mouse people. I found my race, guys.
It's going to be if it's anything like the Guild Wars 2 Skrit, those were pretty cool.
That's it. I'm going to be hoarding shinies and weapons and, yep.
Well, you're going to need to. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of Pillars of Creation, the one-on-one, like little, I guess, talk show format with Thais, my co-founder here at Dungeon Crawler Network, and myself. Thank you so much for watching. Stick to look in the description of this video, or if you're listening to the podcast, all this will be released in one continuous audio format for the podcast, so you're just hearing segments, but YouTube obviously is going to be split into different videos. We hope you enjoyed this episode of From the Ashes. Check the link below for anything, any further segments. We'll see you later, everybody.